Hello, and welcome to the Doberman Planet Halloween Special. Today, I might frighten you a bit. I might intrigue you a bit. I might even leave you wondering what otherworldly abilities your Doberman might have. You see, I have a story for you today. It's a story about a woman named Sara and her Doberman Shadow, both of whom went missing some time ago. And the days leading up to their disappearance were rather unusual, to say the least. Now our story today starts on a hot spring evening in Florida, where a woman named Sara found herself in a new town and in a new house after leaving her husband. Sara had a loyal Doberman named Shadow, and Shadow was a great dog, but the only issue Shadow ever had was occasionally he would be found staring blankly off into the corner of a room and growling quietly to himself. Well, it turned out that Shadow had an incredible, unique ability, one that Sara had no idea he had, although Sara was certainly about to find out. You see, on one especially rainy night, Sara found herself sitting and watching a movie with her Doberman Shadow. It was just the two of them together, like most nights lately it seemed. And the rain was coming down hard and the wind was pounding on the house. Now, Sara's house was far away from town and it was surrounded by nothing but trees, so when the wind would blow, the tree limbs could be heard knocking and scratching on the windows. Now, Shadow was a very calm dog and he was used to these noises, and really he rarely batted an eye, even when Sara herself became startled. That was until this night, of course, when the lights flickered and everything changed for Sara. Yep, that single flicker really changed things for Sara. Her life would never be the same because, you see, it wasn't unusual for Sara to reach for her Doberman Shadow when she was frightened. But this time, Sara did something she had never done before. When she reached for Shadow, two of her fingers landed perfectly right between his two eyes. Now, Sara was definitely frightened, and maybe it was the wind pounding on the house or the rain coming down hard, or maybe the fact that the TV suddenly flicked off as soon as the lights flickered. Whatever it was, when her hands landed on Shadow's head and the fingers went right between his eyes, she was certainly frightened, to say the least. And so Sara scanned the room to see if anything unusual was going on in her house. And what did she see? She saw the ghostly image of a young red-headed boy, confused, walking towards them, curious about them, but definitely there and absolutely walking towards her and her dog, Shadow. Now, startled, Sara jumped and pulled her hands off Shadow's head, and the boy was gone. Confused, Sara carefully put her hands right back on Shadow's head and put their fingers right between his eyes, just like she had before. And she looked around. And what did she see? The boy was back, and he was closer than ever and reaching for them. Now, Sara didn't sleep at home that night. Her and Shadow ran straight out of that house, and they went straight to the only friend that Sara had in that new town, a friend named Kyle. Now, Kyle had been there for Sara in the past, so Sara was fairly certain that her and her dog Shadow would be safe at Kyle's house. And they were. It was, of course, until the next day when they returned to Sara's house, and things got really frightening. Sara opened the front door of her home, and the door quietly creaked as it opened. Sara hollered into the house.
Hello? Hello?
There was no answer. She and Shadow entered the house. When they entered the kitchen, Sara found that some of the cabinets were ajar and there was a stack of pots and pans carefully piled up in the middle of the kitchen with a brightly colored toy at the top. Seeing this sent a shiver down Sara's back. Sara could feel she was not alone in the house, and as she moved in the living room, she could feel that someone was watching her from the area of the room where she had been the night before with Shadow. Curiosity got the best of Sara, and she pulled Shadow in close. She put her hands between his eyes, and she could feel that tension, knowing that she was about to see something she probably didn't want to see. Just then, Sara began to see an image of that ghostly boy start to materialize right in front of her eyes, and he was sitting right where she had been sitting the night before. And he was looking straight at her. Then, suddenly, the power was out again. Now, what I just told you was pieced together from Kyle's account of what Sara had told him, and also various evidence that law enforcement had collected. Now, Sara and Shadow were never heard from again, and the last piece of evidence that turned up was this audio recording that Sara left on Kyle's voicemail.
Kyle, it's Sara. God, I wish you would pick up. It happened again as soon as I got back from your place. Look, Shadow is really freaked out. I don't know what's going on. I saw the boy, and the power went out, and I think he wanted me to follow him. He wants to show me something. He's trying to get me to go into the woods behind the house, so I'm going to go follow him. God, I really wish you were here to pick up. Look, if you don't hear from me soon, can you please just come check on me? I have Shadow with me, so I'll be fine. Shadow really wants to follow him, too. Shadow, come here. Shadow! Look, I gotta go. I need to know what this boy is trying to tell us. Please, and thank you so much for your help last night.
Sara and her Doberman Shadow were never heard from again, and some people maintain that there is one genetic line of Doberman out there that when their owners carefully place their two fingers between their eyes, they can see otherworldly things. And you may not always want to be able to see what your Doberman can see. Over here. Now, the story that you just heard was loosely based on the books Between Shadow's Eyes and From Shadow's Perspective. Now, these are two amazing books written by Jill Hedgecock that really do an amazing job of bringing home the Doberman's real close qualities with their owner. And it's about a dog with this uncanny ability when their owner places two fingers between the dog's eyes. It's spine-chilling, and it's really a good read if you want to check it out. I will have links to those books in the description down below where you can check them out on Amazon. I hope you enjoyed the story today, guys, and are you one of those owners with a Doberman with this unique ability? Well, maybe you should check. Or maybe not. I hope you and your Doberman have a safe and happy Halloween this season, and remember to keep that candy and chocolate away from your dogs. Chocolate is toxic to dogs, and might be a good idea to keep your Doberman back a little ways if you expect a lot of, goblins and ghouls coming by your front door. Thank you so much. Please hit that subscribe button down below and the bell icon next to it. I would really appreciate it. That way, you won't miss our next adventure here on Doberman Planet, where we learn a ton about the Doberman breed. I'll see you next time.